Hi, the next 5 minutes will be about the Ingres Odalisque by the artist Ingres and hangs in the Louvre in Paris. And it's an unusual painting, not at least because it was commissioned by a woman, commissioned by this lady, the younger sister of Napoleon, who at the time was Queen of Naples. She very likely commissioned it for her husband to be a painting to hang next to the one that you see on the left, the Sleeping Woman of Naples, also by Ingres, a painting that's now lost, and she probably envisioned them to be hung together. Now, it's an interesting painting because it's right on the cusp of two art historical periods. It's right at the end of neoclassicism and the start of romanticism. And this is really Ingres' break from neoclassicism, in which romantic individualism and the escape to the far away and long ago to the exotic became more of a thing. He could use a lot of inspiration for this painting because, of course, reclining nudes have been part of art history forever. And there were many artists before him who did these kind of paintings, always made for the male gaze. Why this exotic setting? Well, partly because in 1798, the French army led by Napoleon invaded Egypt and occupied the country until about 1801. And this European presence in Egypt really attracted Western travelers to the Near and Middle East, and many started capturing in paint or prints life in the Middle East, and so that became a very popular theme. So the Orient is part of this painting. And you see that in elements like the peacock fan and the henna painted pinky finger and the turban and the pearls and the hookah, this pipe, the belt in the foreground. You also see it because it seems to be inspired by Persian illustrations in a way, this elongated, stretched out figure, which also, of course, reminds us of the Mannerist period in Europe. It is completely anatomically incorrect, of course. Her body is so stretched out. The curve of the spine and the rotation of the pelvis are completely impossible. Her left arm is shorter than her right, and she seems to have extra parts in her vertebrae in her back, which of course is not really possible in real life. But he's doing that, of course, to elongate and beautify and make this figure even more elegant. It was probably partly done in this Oriental style as a propaganda of French imperialism. There was a great interest in the Far East, but also, of course, her being the youngest sister of Napoleon, this is part of her kind of promoting and supporting her brother. It would prove to be a very popular theme for Ingres as well, and he would continue making these kind of paintings set in the Orient for the rest of his life. And on your screen, a couple of examples. This painting, though, the Odalisque, would remain extremely important both for Ingres and for the greater public. Ingres incorporated elements within this painting which make it hugely personal. One of the things being that the face of the Odalisque reminds us of a painting by Raphael, a painting that Ingres was completely obsessed with and keeps incorporating in other paintings that he does. But also he made a number of versions of this painting, smaller versions, later on in his life. It's also a very important painting for other artists. It would prove to be of huge influence on future artists. This stylized approach of the female form and the emphasis on personal expression and abstraction really influenced modern artists with this idea of stylistic innovation instead of strict realism. but also as a painting to debate the male gaze in art, colonialism, and female agency. If you want to learn more